guys, it's me again, and welcome back to another review for you, 2016. And don't mind that, it's raining outside. And I'm sorry that I don't get these out when the film immediately comes out, because honestly, I see these movies like weeks apart. But today, I actually got to go see the animated film Sausage Party. The first rated, I think it is the first rated R animated film to be at least the first three. I'm trying to speak. The first 3D rated R film to be released here in America. So, I mean, going by that logic, that is a huge deal for animation. Not only is it a huge deal for something that is rated R to come out like this, but it's also a big deal for animation to open up doors to a whole bunch of other animated films to come out that are, you know, that can also be PG-13, they can be R, they can be any rating they want to be, honestly. And I went into this movie, you know, like hearing about the reviews and hearing how much praise that this movie is getting, I was like, holy crap. I was like, and it's weird too, because honestly people were laughing at the trailers and everything like that. I honestly thought it was just another kind of crude comedy with, you know, a barbarous subject like these people behind this film like to do, but instead it's animated, which of course is going to give it more of a raunchy edge per se. And people like, you know, when supposed cartoons start swearing and stuff like that, and people think that that alone is funny. And for me personally, I think you need a lot more to be funny than just have cartoon characters cursing at each other. Honestly, you know, with everything rated R and stuff like that, there is a good and there is a bad. I mean, you can be edgy and stuff like that, you can be shocking, but the truth is about, you know, shock humor and stuff like that, it doesn't really exist anymore. We've seen everything that is to come of shock humor, and you have to be really creative and really bizarre to pull shock humor off nowadays. You need to have a point, and you need to have timing. That's one thing you need to have, timing, guys. Really great timing. So I went into this movie thinking, okay, for the amount of good reviews that this movie is actually getting, and for the amount of absolutely very little backlash apparently, I was thinking, okay, let me go in with my 2 cents and not going to go in thinking that this is probably one of the greatest animated films of this year at least. And what I got out of it was a very mixed bag. Now, I am not someone who likes you know, humor, you know, who likes how do I phrase this? I'm not somebody who dislikes raunchy humor, honestly. I mean, I've seen a couple of the Seth Rogen's comedies and stuff like that. I've liked This Is the End, and I did not like The Interview. Okay, I did not like The Interview. I liked The World's End, and that, or not The World's End. This Is the End. Yeah, I liked This Is the End, but I can see, like, Seth Rogen's comedy is a mixed bag for me, and I know I haven't seen all of his movies, but honestly, I think I know what kind of humor that these guys, you know, do. They do kind of this stony, raunchy type humor, and it can be really clever, but it can also be really dull. And what I got out of this was a sort of mix. I liked in the first couple of minutes of this movie, where they, you know, completely, you know, sort of have like this Alan Menken type song, which is crazy because Alan Menken does, like, you know, the songs in this movie, and have these characters saying the F-bomb. They have these characters, you know, supplicing, you know, very how would I say, very sexual attractions to one another. They have these people, food per se, do a bunch of, just sex innuendos, and I'm just like, oh god, is this gonna be the entire movie? Is this gonna be it? And thankfully it's not, okay? After the first couple, like probably 10 minutes, I would say, after the first 10 minutes, the cursing kind of like lets on a little bit and starts to feel a little bit more natural, because honestly, the first 10 minutes of this movie were kind of kind of a little bit grating on me. I was like, oh my god, is this really going to be the movie? But thankfully it's not. Thankfully it's not. And what follows is sort of kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. I mean, with the whole environment of the food and how the food treats the humans as gods who want to take them to another place, pretty much the afterlife. And it's making an allegory on, religious beliefs and, what you believe in and what is false, what is true, should we believe in it, should we not. And pretty much the movie has been making, pretty much great claims because of that argument. I mean, it's this, and I would have to say that it comes out very natural. I mean, in terms of something like Zootopia, how it dealt with discrimination and all just political talk and violence towards other communities and stuff like that. And this movie to tackle on religion, right, like pretty much right after like a few months Zootopia first debuted, and it was pretty natural. Just like, I wouldn't say probably as good as Zootopia, but just as natural as Zootopia, because I can sort of dilute that on what the film's trying to say and put it into their sense of the word. I mean, you can look at it as religious belief, whether or not, but it also fits into the category of the actual movie. And I'm not going. Again, I'm not going to pretty much say about anything about pretty much what my any beliefs or anything like that. But for a movie to tackle sort of this anti-religious way, I think it was kind of smart. I think it was kind of clever for something like that, and I think it also taught people, like, to believe in whatever they want to believe, but not spread all this hatred, all this violence, to not just spread it willingly, like, to not fool another person into pretty much believing something that they don't. Honestly, to not force your opinion on anybody, something like that, if they don't. If they believe in the God, fine, they believe in God, but don't go spreading your whole emphasis on believing in God to other people and trying to conform them, because you're just pretty much being a douche, honestly. And there's literally the villain in here named Douche. But other than the whole spark that this movie's getting about its anti-religious beliefs and such like that, there's also the point of it actually being the setting and the characters, the setting and the environment and the characters that pretty much is just this whole food that is in the grocery aisle and pretty much just wants to be sent into the afterlife. That's pretty much the whole plot, and then the foods just find out what the truth is. And from there on out, it's kind of a little bit of a, I wouldn't want to say like, I wouldn't want to say pretty much bad pacing, but you can tell that there are certain places where the pace is too fast and the pace is too slow on this part. It's kind of very confusing on what kind of pacing that this film wants to take, honestly. And it kind of confused me, because there's one thing that I have a pet peeve in animated films, it's pacing. And it can make a really, really, why can't I talk today? Because I just saw the film and I'm just really confused by it, because it's just, God. I'm just thinking back to how probably wrong, or how probably right that this film is actually, because the pacing is one thing where it's all over the place, but then you got, all the humor that is supposed to be in this film, which it bounces from one thing to another. Again, the first 10 minutes is a doozy, but once you get past that, it's completely fine. And for some people who are saying, oh, this is probably the raunchiest film I've ever seen, I mean, this should have been an NC-17, I've actually seen, I've seen some pieces of animation that should have been something like that, but weren't. And this film, like, as much as stuff I've been hearing about that this should have been a higher rating, this is actually kind of a little bit pretty tame for Seth Rogen's company and friends like that. I think that this is kind of a little bit tame. I mean, besides what they put into the end of this movie, which if you see it, yeah, I just keep on thinking about that scene in my head, and just how eminent of it being with animated films, of them also making fun of also other animated films like Pixar and everything else, and them just making fun of those types of tropes and such like that. And that was a really laugh out loud for me whenever they made fun of other animated films tropes. And in terms of, the characters and the animation, I mean, it's subpar. It's okay. I mean, the animation, this was made on like less than a $2 million, not $2 million, that would have been real cheap, $20 million budget, which is really unheard of in 3D animation nowadays. I mean, you would have had some really cheap animation, and this animation is decent. It serves as a backbone, okay? It serves as a backbone, it helps it, well, it's pretty much subpar. It's okay. And for something that was cost less than $20 million, it's not bad. It's just something that just pretty much moves the story along. And the characters are also subpar as well. I mean, again, just like Secret Life of Pets, I don't think there's going to be a character pretty much in here that I exclusively remember, but I will remember those designs, especially for something like this movie. I mean, for the amount of sex jokes and racist jokes and just inappropriate jokes that are not for kids. Do not take your kids ever to see this movie, because they will have to ask some really deep questions at the end of this. But I would say that this film is for people who have watched adult animation, who like Adult Swim and everything like that. I mean, I've been exposed to like some Adult Swim, good and bad, and I would say that, if this were to air on something like Adult Swim, you'll probably enjoy it. I wouldn't be shocked if they made a TV show right after this. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what I would rate this, I would say probably, I mean, it's one of the most influential anime films that I've seen this year. I mean, it's probably right next to Zootopia, right next to The Message. But in terms of the rest, like where I found Zootopia, like, good in all the right places, I would find out, wow, The Message is really great here, and the humor is also really good. But I would say that the animation and the characters were, pretty just subpar and standard for your typical, I would say, just typical film in general. So I would probably rate this about a 7.5 out of 10. Is it probably one of my favorite animated films of this year? It's difficult to say. I mean, we still have the rest of the year to go, but honestly, I would put this up probably in with The Message right next to Zootopia, but I think I would have to think about where I'm going to put this at the end of the year, because this is an influential film. I mean, people should go see it just because of The Message and stuff like that. But if you're not into the raunchy type humor, you're not into the F-bomb so much, then I mean, you're probably not gonna like it. But again, I see no problem with it. So that's pretty much all my review, guys. And as always, JC Animation Critic out. See you guys later. Take care.